My name is Carson Seelman, and this is On Air with Heritage Action, a podcast built for conservatives. Twice a week, we break down some of the most important issues facing our country and talk about how you can get involved today in the fight for conservative values.
Thanks for listening to On Air with Heritage Action. Today, we're talking about the next big fight that is shaping up right now in Congress, funding the federal government, which is super important because it's not just about the dollars, it's about the policies that the dollars fund. For the past 2 years, our taxpayer dollars have funded Biden's agenda. High inflation, open borders, and a student debt bailout, and a radical transgender agenda. The current fiscal year ends on September 30th, and Congress currently needs to appropriate money. Otherwise, the federal government will enter a shutdown on October 1st. Congress is debating a continuing resolution, or a CR as it's commonly referred to keep the government open. First, let's start with the basics. What is a continuing resolution? Simply put, it's a spending bill that extends the current level of government funding and associated policies into the next fiscal year. A CR can last for months, weeks, or even just days. Congress chooses the length of a CR when they pass it. CRs have become very common as Congress routinely fails to follow its own appropriation process and put forward 12 separate spending bills to fund the various government departments and agencies. Often, Congress tries to tack on a few extra policy changes to a CR. These are called riders, and for our listeners, that's riders, RIDERS, that are attached to ride through the multiple iterations of negotiations. Congressional leadership views this as a process as an effective way to force their policy priorities through, riding on top of a must-pass bill. The House and Senate are currently working on a deal to fund the government past the September 30th deadline, which is a little over a week away. But Democrats in Congress would like to pass a CR that ends sometime around the middle of December. Why? So members can leave town and go campaign and then come back after the election and sneak a bad bill through Congress during the lame duck session of Congress. The lame duck session is the time after the election in November, but before the newly elected Congress is sworn in January. The lame duck session is notorious for bad legislation that doesn't reflect the will of the people. Retiring members are checked out, as are members who just lost their re-election campaigns. There's just not a lot of accountability. In the past, a spending fight in December has been bad for America because Congress tends to sneak through these bad ideas while the nation is anticipating the holidays and Santa's sleigh bells start ringing. For example, just a couple Decembers ago in 2020, the House and Senate passed a $2.3 trillion spending bill that recklessly added to the debts, pumped money into the economy, and paid workers to stay home, all of which is now contributing to the current economic downturn that you and I all are feeling every time we shop for groceries or fill up our gas tanks. Lame duck legislating generally leads to bad policy, and this would be especially true for this year. Democrats are expected to lose the House, and maybe the Senate too, who's to say? So if in December Nancy Pelosi writes an omnibus to fund the government for 2023, she would be writing it as she is on her way out the door. Nancy Pelosi would have no accountability to voters, and she'd try to pack it full of every liberal policy that she possibly could. In essence, Pelosi would be cementing the Biden agenda for a third year. Open borders, massive spending, huge bailouts. This is an insult to the American voter, and let me tell you why. American voters are fed up with this failed agenda, so it would be wrong for Congress to enact Biden's failed agenda right after the American voters rejected it in November. As you can see, a CR that expires in December is a bad scenario. Republicans should not support it. Here's the solution. Conservatives in Congress should push for a CR that expires at the beginning of next year. We would fund the government until the new Congress is sworn in, let the American people vote this November, and let the American people set the agenda for 2023. A CR that expires in December would give outgoing Democrat leadership the power to push their progressive priorities that Americans clearly don't want for another year. We shouldn't give the left any opportunity to fund their progressive agenda right after they've been voted out of office. It's kind of like a dine and dash, where people go to a restaurant, enjoy a meal, and then simply leave without paying for it. That's exactly what will happen if a lame duck Congress passes a long-term CR. Democrats will order everything they can off the progressive policy menu and then walk out, leaving all of us with the tab. So unless you want to see a third year of Biden's inflationary and woke agenda, you need to take action and demand that your members of Congress follow the lead of Congressman Chip Roy of Texas and Senators Rick Scott, Mike Lee, and Ted Cruz in calling only for a continuing resolution that maintains current spending levels and allows for a newly elected Congress to set the policy agenda and government funding levels for 2023. We've put the link to our Action Center in this description. Thanks for listening.
That's it for another episode of On Air with Heritage Action. Thank you for tuning in. If you like what you heard in today's episode, please click the follow button. If you want to receive a text message each time a new episode airs, text podcast to 51776 and you'll never miss an episode. That's podcast to 51776. Hi, it's me again, and we need your help. If you like the insights and activist resources we are providing, please take 1 minute and help us spread the word. Share this episode with friends and family on social media, email, or text. We need everyone's help in the fight to hold Washington accountable. And don't forget, you are also able to subscribe and listen to episodes on your smartphone. Just open up your favorite podcast app and search for On Air with Heritage Action. Click subscribe and download episodes so that you can take them with you on the go. It's the best way to make sure you never miss a thing. Thanks.